Hi, I'm Jacob Allen. This is AEP 858 case study. First part we have is a summary of the facts. Mr. Rhodes is a first-year principal at Golden Oak High School. It's known for strong attendance and performance in the past, and also known for their good football team. The day after he was appointed, the superintendent came to Mr. Rhodes to point out that attendance was a problem that needs work. After winter break hit, Mr. Rhodes focused on 5 individual cases. The first of which was Karen, who was a good student as a freshman and sophomore, was married over the summer and grades went down on spotty attendance. Second student, Tyrone, missed 2 different long trips worth of school. And then it was also mentioned that the school only allows 3 personal days. The homeroom teacher did say that they would excuse a second week's absence for Tyrone. Next was Christina, who missed significant time and part of the year, is involved in church. The homeroom teacher again excused the absence. Carl misses often, and he was reported to truancy. He was missing in the morning and the afternoon, just different days. And then last, you have John, football player. He's been missing because of rehab, because of an injury, and then leaves early on Fridays, presumably to get ready for football games. Next up, we have reporting any legal or ethical issues and harm to parties. The school's reputation could be damaged here. Also, students' grades could be damaged as a result of poor attendance. As far as laws go, we're looking at truancy issues, and then also the attendance data is going to hurt the school's report card that they're going to get back. As far as a breach of a contract, I don't believe there's any breach of a contract unless teachers excusing absences is not part of their contract and they feel like they're being asked to do more than they're supposed to be. And then as far as harassment or discrimination, there does not seem to be any. This is where I inserted the standard of processes for gathering, synthesizing, and evaluating data to develop and implement management, communication, school level governance, and operations. And this is where we're gathering and synthesizing kind of what was going on. The one-sentence explanation of this whole situation is Mr. Rhodes, the principal at a high school, is dealing with poor accountability issues on attendance from his staff and students. So, categorizing the facts, the people that are involved. You have 5 different students that are individually focused on. All the students could be involved because they might see a trend. The principal is definitely involved because it's been tasked to him to handle this situation. There's a handful of teachers that we know for a fact that are involved in this situation, one of which is the football coach, who we know is kind of backing up players for missing. This school is low in diversity, but recently Asian and Hispanic students have moved in. And then also the superintendent was one of the people involved because the superintendent came to the principal and said, solve this attendance issue that's happened. The place is Golden Oak High School. It's about an hour or 2 outside of Metro. It is mentioned that it's middle income, so you have some families that are more wealthy, some that struggle. As far as program goes, it was mentioned that it was high school. It used to be a star for attendance numbers / performance. And then it sounds like this is probably a public school. And this is where I've entered that standard in red there, evaluate the resource needs. So reviewing and prioritizing what's going on. If this trend continues, the school's reputation at risk. It could damage teachers' reputations when they seek other jobs. You know, if this school gets a bad rap, they may not be able to get a new job. The superintendent will have to answer for poor performing school along with the principal. So for similar reasons, those two are impacted. They both will have to answer for why is this school doing so poorly? What have you done to make it better or worse? The funding could also change due to poor performance and attendance. And then jobs could be on the line for all levels of staff, potentially on what happens with the teachers and principal and the superintendent. If things are going so poorly, the principal might come after the teachers, superintendent might have to come after the principal, superintendent might get in hot water for not being able to handle his schools. So have the stakeholders been talked to? From what we know, the superintendent talked to the principal at the beginning of the year. The parents have been contacted in a couple of cases for the attendance reasons, and the principal is also he has already been working at the attendance from winter break, but we haven't heard any report back to the superintendent yet. Now, what could we learn more about? I would like to know why the homeroom teachers are excusing the absences. And then I would also like to know what has been done in the past that worked so well for this school. And then lastly, do we know enough to do anything? Yes, I think you can take a couple of steps without knowing any more information. So our possible actions, the first one is doing nothing. Keep excusing absences. Teachers have that attendance excusing ability. The principal gives whatever data comes back to the superintendent. The students get 3 personal absence days. We don't change any policy. Highest action. Principal creates a strict new attendance policy. Only the principal can excuse any absence. He's going to report any case to truancy right away, so nothing is held up on that. You just go right to it. Once they hit that absence, report it. Next, the teachers, you're going to write up the teachers for poor practices, and then suspend students for skipping. So be very firm about, hey, this is not an excused absence. You were skipping, referral. The next we have is the intermediate action, kind of in between. You could take away the excusing power from teachers and give to program secretaries. So I'm not letting the teachers excuse absences anymore. You could hold school meeting about new policy, continue to monitor student cases, the 5 that we had already looked at. We hopefully will have handled what I'm finishing with there, but we would hopefully continue to monitor student cases overall, not just those 5. So evaluating these options, if we don't take any action, those students are going to catch on to no consequences, and they're just going to keep taking more and more and more. The teachers are going to lose respect from the students. The school will face a lot of criticisms, and jobs could be lost, like I previously mentioned, just depending on how it all shakes out. It could be teachers losing jobs, it could be a principal losing a job, it could be superintendent being reassigned or removed. As far as the highest action, I think what you have to think about is you might alienate your students and teachers for being too firm as a negative. As a positive, you could have a big turnaround. And then as another negative, it'd be lots of bookkeeping to have to do all the truancy cases and the attendance being right on it and writing referrals for these students. You would have solved maybe your problems, but you also might alienate people. And then lastly, the intermediate action. It could be too light of consequences. It may not help make any change, and it could make teachers upset at losing authority. But also on the flip side of that, you are less likely to step on toes, kind of balancing it out. This is where I put in the advocate for the resources and supportive needs, since this is where you're advocating for the resources and the support of the needs of the school and where they fit. So the option I'm going with is mostly the intermediate one. So step 1, meet with those individual students. We've got to get those cases solved first, and it'll hopefully give you a better idea of what's happening. Step 2, only allow the secretaries the ability to excuse absences. If every teacher has this power to excuse absences, there's going to be a big discrepancy on what is an excused absence and what isn't, versus if we get it narrowed down to about 5 people that excuse the absences and understand what an absence is. Step 3, meet and discuss with your staff the reasons for that decision, why they're losing the excused absence part of their deal. And then show them the attendance data and how things have trended down, justify why you're doing that. And also, you might bring up that it helps them focus on their teaching. And then one more thing I'd like to start this meeting would be start having an open discussion about the 3 personal days if the teachers think that's an appropriate amount of days off for the students. Step 4, let's contact the parents and students, let them know that secretaries will be excusing, but also let them know what an excused absence is and is not. And then step 5, monitor your attendance data to finish off the year, and they report that data to the superintendent. I don't think you're going to have major results, but hopefully you'll see an upward trend based on your changes, which is why I didn't want to do the all-out go for it, considering you're halfway through the year, and that's tough to make a change in the rules halfway through, but you can at least take minor steps. So then, imagining the implementation of this, the action plan part of that was on the last page about what I was imagining would happen. What may happen is you might get better attendance over time, as I'm thinking this out. You could get some teachers pretty upset at you about them losing some of their power, and it could just be this fight of, oh, there's one more thing we don't get to choose. I do think one of the things it does well is it brings in all parties to the discussion. Everyone kind of has something changing for them, but in a positive way, hopefully. There aren't any threats involved. The teachers aren't being blamed for anything. You could easily come out and say, you guys are being way too lenient, but you're not. You're just saying, hey, I think it might be better if we only have a few people excusing these. And then lastly, if the plan doesn't work, the principal may have to step up discipline for the teachers or students. Might have to reiterate, this is an excused absence, this isn't, sorry you didn't follow this. For the teacher, this is a write-up. For the student, this is some sort of discipline action. And this is where I felt like the last standard played in was the using the data ethically and equitably to develop a multi-year school resource plan aligned to schools' goals and priorities. Because again, I don't think this is a half-year fix. I think this is going to have to take place over the next year and a half. Thank you for listening to my video.